I have a second channel, Cube Comp MTDX. Hey everybody, so here's a fine example of what running a computer in a hot environment can do over time. So this is a Dell Dimension 9100. It's seen quite a bit of upgrades over its service life, including running Windows 10. This was a Pentium D 820 system. It had probably a 160 gig hard drive in it. I want to say 2 or 3 gigs of RAM. I sold this computer back in 2014 as a refurbished computer. It went to a local sign printing business, and the thing is, once I sold it to them, I started doing maintenance for all their other computers, and also I did some upgrades to this one during the time they had it. It spent a good bit of its time in an air-conditioned environment, but I believe it also spent quite a bit of time out in the shop, where it will probably get up to, I'd say easily get up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the shop. So it was already, you already had more or less hot ambient conditions in that shop. And this, again, is a Pentium D 820 based system. In other words, a space heater processor. Processor made a good alternative for a space heater. I don't know the exact wattage off the top of my head, but I want to say it was probably a 95 watt TDP processor, but I mean, these things just cranked out tons of heat. Think of 2 Pentium 4s together, more or less. These things, they cranked out a ton of heat. So, of course, with Dell computers, at least of this design, they take in air through here. Fan blows it across the CPU core because the processor is right there, and that hot air is dumped into the rest of the system to go out the back, and also for the power supply to ingest. You also had heat from the hard drives and the graphics card added to that as well. So pretty safe to say that internal temps did get up there quite a bit. So if you look at this motherboard, it has Japanese capacitors on it, mostly Rubycon. Yeah, I see some Kimicons down the board a little bit as well. So you can see these right here that are in front of the CPU cooler. They're all bulging and leaking. And Rubycons are generally quality capacitors. They don't usually fail as much as cheaper end caps or capacitors with a flawed formula would do. Yeah, Rubycons were generally better, but in these Dells, they always tended to get cooked. Especially these Dells with the Pentium D CPUs in them. They always tend to get cooked. Now this motherboard, I'd say it was working, but it was also having a lot of problems. There were times where it wouldn't post. It would act like it wouldn't get along with the system memory. Not sure if it was due to faulty RAM, but the RAM, I believe, worked fine in a different computer, so not sure if it was the motherboard's chipset being picky with the memory. I mean, this is a platform where the chipset is the memory controller. Or if it was caused by noise from failed caps. It could be either of the two, or just simply fatigue from running in such a hot environment over its life. So years ago, I swapped out and replaced 2 similar Dell, I think they were XPS 400s. Swapped those out and replaced them with newer computers because, well, they were pretty much the same thing. They were still working, but inside they were filthy, and the caps were all bulging and leaking. And the environment they ran in was very similar to the environment this system ran in. So that's one thing electrolytic capacitors do not like, is heat. Now these caps are rated for 105 degrees Celsius operation, but when you run them in just, let's say, I don't know, 50 degrees C or even 60 degrees C environments for long periods of time, over time it does cause them to fail. So that's a look inside the old system at the motherboard. Let's look inside the power supply pulled out of it. Okay, so here's the power supply out of that system. This is not the original power supply to that machine either. This is a Hipro HB-D3057F3R. These units originally are from HP systems, manufactured from around, I want to say 2004 to 2008 roughly, that time period. You would see these in some of the more premium systems. You had, of course, you would either have these or you would have Bestech units. Now these Hipro units, they're pretty solid. Now they do suffer from capacitor issues. This one here, when I got it out of the when I pulled it from its part system, probably about 8 or 10 years ago, I recapped it using caps I had on hand from motherboards and other power supplies that I harvested from. And let's have a look inside at these caps. So, I noticed right away when I saw this tape here that I have actually serviced this unit before, and it's going to need to be serviced again. So this again is a Hipro HP I think D3057F3R. This is one of the older units. This is a well, yeah, this is around 2006. I think it was manufactured. So if you look over here, get you a view of it. You can see these caps are not original. The original caps in these power supplies are made by Hipro. This one has a mixed bag variety of Nichicon, OST, Jamicon, and there's one full tech in there. These were all harvested caps I had reused, and they're all holding up just fine except for the OSTs. There's 3 OSTs that are bulging. You may be able to see right there, one's actually leaked a little bit. So those will definitely have to be changed out. Yeah, that's one thing about OST caps is they tend not like heat that much. It seems like certain capacitor manufacturers are worse than others for heat, for heat tolerance. Yeah, usually Jamicons are not that good either, but I think some of the older Jamicon caps, like this one here, that have the this style vent. I don't know if you can see where my finger is right there. That style vent right there, instead of the Y-shaped vent. The ones that had this style vent, they seem to hold up a little better, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna have to replace those 3 failed OSTs. There's another OST in there that looks fine. Now, as I may have mentioned, this power supply still works fine, but we definitely get those failing caps changed out. So yeah, this unit, it was in service, and it got dropped into that Dell system, which was sold in 2014. And it ran, I think, up through 2018, and I think it ran practically constantly. And as I had mentioned, it spent some time in some very demanding conditions. So you combine that hot ambient temperatures with the heat off that Pentium D plus the power draw of that Pentium D. It took its toll a little bit. So that comes to show what heat can do to computers over time, as far as the caps go. Now, newer motherboards have mostly done away with, I want to say they've mostly done away with electrolytic caps. They have They have transitioned over to using, I think, polymer caps, but power supplies do tend to still use electrolytics quite a bit. So yeah. As you've seen, even Rubycon caps, they ain't perfect either. They can fall victim to extreme heat. So anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this little video. Thanks for watching. Well, everybody, that's it for this video, but don't forget there's a lot more interesting stuff on the channel to check out. Also, if this is your first time visiting this channel, feel free to subscribe to keep your channel, and also don't forget to tick the bell so that way you'll get notified of new video posts. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, but if you really didn't like it, there is the alternative option available as well. Also, feel free to check out my second channel, CubeComp MTDX. There you'll find videos about bicycling, weather, elevator tours, and all sorts of other neat, interesting stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Feel free to come back, and thank you for your support.